How's your Christmas?
Good.
Yeah?
Christmas was good, man.
Had the kids over?
Kids were over, yeah. We just watched games, went to dinner.
I mean, I saw your house. The way it's set up looks like a movie set for Christmas. It looks like you had a little movie set movie crew come in.
You can't say that.
It looked like, come on, Home Alone. It looked very,
oh man.
It was almost too perfect. It was like, look at this.
Well, I have OCD. That's how I live.
Is that you doing that? Come on.
What do you mean?
You set it all up like that?
I mean, I didn't set it all up like that, but I have my hands pretty much, yeah, I'm involved. You know, I'm like an interior designer. It's like my 8th job. You think I'm playing? I love to do that.
I don't know. So
Books,
that was
candles.
That was actually you.
throws,
I just figured you had people for that.
Different types
You
of
don't have an
rugs.
interior designer come in and set that up at all?
Yeah, I mean, you work with people, but I still I'm not a type of person to just be like, you just do it. No, I'm not going to. It's like, I look at interior designing like I look at dressing. I've always liked to do that. That matters.
I also notice you don't have a lot of, no matter how nicely I set up a place, I'll have like little magazines or notes around or stuff around, like too much clutter. And even when it's not me, it's the kids it drives me crazy.
When you walk in my house, it looks the same way every time you walk.
Oh, that's like a gift to be able to be that way. What do you do to make, for the people out there who need to know how to live at, like, you know, because you watch a TV show or a movie and there's never any clutter. Everyone's living and then you look at your own house, you're like, come on. What do you do?
Always been into
I just assume you hire people to do that.
No, I've always been into the details. Now, I do have a great house manager who's like another mom for me.
House manager.
But
why are you playing it off like you got a house manager?
No, but she's just as OCD as I am. So we're aligned. I mean, all the way up to like the Twizzlers happen to be fresh in the jar. Like you can't.
You ever see Downton Abbey, the show Downton Abbey?
No, I have not.
I've watched that now with my daughters like a couple times through. Very good show. But like they ring a bell. You know, it's in the early 1900s. They ring a bell, and then downstairs, all the servants hear the bell, and I feel like maybe you have a basement where you pull a thing, you don't hear it, but the servants come up and do all
listen,
that.
I don't listen. I could never be. I don't like junk. Me personally, even in my hotel room, I don't like that.
I unpack it, have it exactly the way I want it right away.
Fold my clothes up.
But how do you stop your kids and have your significant other, everyone, like from junking it up? Is Adele the same way?
Now my son's room. Yeah. Now my son's room, different story. That's a whole nother world.
You just close the door.
that's another world. But my sons are different. But again, they only get so much time to be, because they know like no food in your room, which is a fight.
Of course.
Yeah, but you know. Yeah, it's a battle.
What about your bedside table? Like my bedside table looks like I'm an Egyptian pharaoh, and I'm like I'm going into a sarcophagus or something. I need my water. I need my phone. I need the thing. There's 15 things on the side of the
No, not mine. Few books.
Yeah, I got the books.
Water. Not even really a charger there.
I got the charger.
No. You can't have two, like you have to be not so minimal, but like clean.
Yeah. I aspire to this. You ready to do the show?
Let's do it.
Game Over is presented by FanDuel. FanDuel's got it all. Same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live and your way, so you can build the bet that fits your play. Plus, don't miss out on holiday offers and surprises all month long. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/gameover to get started. 21 and over and present in select states, or 18 and over and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut.
It was really, really chilled Christmas this year, though.
I was sick the whole time.
That's
The whole
not
time.
good.
I'm watching games drifting in and out, I know. But better to be sick when you're off than sick when you're working.
I agree. I was a little upset we didn't do Friday
Yeah, me too.
because the Christmas Day games,
Lot to talk about.
Christmas Day games were
Spurs and Thunder especially.
great game.
Yep.
Great game.
And what came out of that in terms of like the Thunder's position and what the Spurs can do and all that.
I think people get to look. I don't want to ignore any regular season, but I'm also not just going to get just.
We have examples of teams dominating other
panicked
teams in the
about
regular season. Playoffs is different.
Yeah.
But and we talked about before how the NBA had nothing to worry about from the NFL in terms of the quality of the product they were running out on Christmas.
Luckily,
But I'll tell you what, the NFL kind of made up for it since then. Real quick, last night, the Bears and the Niners, that was a fun game.
that was a fun game.
Fun, but these teams do not have the defenses to win the Super Bowl, I don't think. I mean, the Niners, if Warner and Bosa, if they were healthy, the Niners could win the Super Bowl this year.
You can definitely say that defense definitely wins championships in any sport, especially in football. But man, it's something about having that firepower.
Now, okay, so I need to say this because now people are jumping on the bandwagon, and I'm mad I didn't come out and say it a couple weeks ago.
I think I know where you're going.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago when Mahomes gets hurt and Josh Allen comes back on the Patriots, maybe it's 3 weeks ago, Josh Allen comes back on the Patriots, and I'm like, okay, KC era, for the moment anyway, is on pause if it's not over. Josh Allen looks to me like he's on a collision course with Matthew Stafford in the Super Bowl. But the caveat was, unless the Texans have something to say about it. I'm ready to come out right now, and my way too early Super Bowl pick is the Houston Texans. Every 10 or 15 years, you will see I will see a defense, a front seven, where I'm like, I don't know what they're going to do this year, but I'm always going to remember this group. Like, I bring up Tampa in 2002 when they got Vic had reeled off 7 straight wins. Tampa gets them. I'm like, I think Tampa's going to win the Super Bowl. They have a quarterback, C.J. Stroud. I know the jury's out. I always believe if that dude's in the game, they have a chance to win. They have a coach, and that defense.
C.J. Stroud.
Right now, I like the Texans.
Listen, I like the Texans too. I went to the game on Sunday. I was there. I'm telling you.
Poor Justin Herbert,
listen,
this guy running for his life.
It definitely looked at it as if the Texans defense had too many men on the field.
Yeah.
They're flying. They're flying everywhere. D'Amico Ryans, he's hyped up.
12 men on the field. They should have gotten whistled on every play, it felt like.
I'm going to tell you the best part about the game, I'm in our suite with Will Anderson's parents, who are the best. Mom knows football. His mom knows football. She can come on the show and talk football, 100%. But every defensive play, I think Will had like a sack and a half, like within the first 3 minutes of the game, whatever it was.
Right.
But his dad's in the suite, and he's like, "Don't play with him. Don't play with him." And Will's flying all over the place.
He's a beast.
And it was just a lot of fun being there. And anytime I like to go to SoFi, because SoFi is like your living room away from your living room in terms of
your box at SoFi, your suite at SoFi is like a living room away from a living room.
Which I don't mind going. But it was just such a fun game, really good game, by the way.
Really good. By the way,
really good game.
Justin Herbert. Every time I'm ready to write him off, I look and I go.
Justin Herbert's
I think like if he just had this or if he just had that, this dude was making plays he should, and receivers were missing balls, and he was making plays he had no business making.
But Justin Herbert's a football player, and I think that obviously he's a football player. I just think that.
Yeah, but when you say that about a quarterback, it means something. When you say a quarterback is a football player, it means something.
Player.
Yeah,
because I'm gonna tell you something. He took hits in that game.
He did,
and bounced right up.
He did,
and made a play.
The knock on him has been, at least in the media, he's not vocal enough. What separates him from dudes like, say, Josh Allen is he doesn't have that rah-rah thing.
Here's the thing you can't get into, and I don't believe
because his deep ball to me is the best in the NFL.
But I don't believe Josh Allen does. I love Josh Allen, but you can't tell somebody how to lead.
neither has Josh Allen been able to rally the troops, really. Like,
It's the
I know
NFL.
he's been Superman, but I want to talk about that Bills-Eagles game, okay? Because, so, as my late great brother Sam used to say, when Michael Jordan retired the first time, it was like we entered a parallel universe in the NBA. Take Jordan out. Who's the best player in the league? Was it going to be like Karl Malone?
No, it was
stepping
Elijah
forward.
Wan.
Would it be Charles Barkley? It was Hakeem.
It was Elijah
Hakeem
Wan. Yes.
was the dominant player in the league in the absence of Jordan. They won
the
back-to-back
Rockets was the best
championships.
team,
And the Rockets were. Then Jordan comes back and they reel off another 3 straight. When
But
Mahomes
then after that, it was a dip.
when Mahomes went down with injury on the same day that Josh Allen comes back on the Patriots, it looks like it's Josh Allen's time. It looks like Josh Allen's the best player in football, best quarterback in football. The numbers match the eye test, matches the winning. The Chiefs are gone. Now we're in a parallel universe without the Chiefs. Here comes Josh Allen. And he's got to get it done in these playoffs. At some point, you run, he doesn't have enough offensive weapons. There's always a reason why, but the question is, who is going to ascend? So I bring this up because Jalen Hurts has been criticized a lot this year. I know he's a clutch client, but he's been criticized a lot this year. And oftentimes when he's compared to someone like Josh Allen, people are like, come on. That's a great quarterback, Josh Allen. You don't have to hide him. You don't have to rely on him. He'll do everything. But I want to say something about Hurts. Jalen Hurts is basically a game manager with wheels. But that's not an insult. A game manager with wheels is a dude who, when he's called upon to make the great throw, he can do it. And otherwise, he doesn't mess it up for you.
Jalen Hurts, first of all, is a Super Bowl champion, MVP. All I'm saying is, back to your point, we have to stop trying to determine how we want guys to lead. People have an issue because they don't like the way he does something.
Right.
The guy
Everyone
wins.
has their own way.
But same with Herbert.
You're saying Hurts.
Hurts.
Yeah, but Herbert hasn't won.
Yeah, but it's the
Josh
NFL.
Allen hasn't won in the playoffs.
I understand what you're saying.
Hurts has.
Josh Allen got on that podium yesterday and said, I have to make that throw. See, here's the thing that I look at. There's some guys who are who they are, and there's some guys who's acting the part.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, don't get me wrong. I think there is all entertainment within every sport. But if you just watch, and it just happens in the NBA, I don't know if it happens as much in the NFL, because I do think these guys are genuine. I think Dak's genuine. I think Josh Allen's genuine. I think Jalen's genuine. A guy like Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. And it's mainly the quarterback who's getting a lot of the blame and the praise, because they play that position. But there's one thing to have leadership. There's another thing to act the part. Mm-hmm. And if you just watch closely, you see that the authenticity is there in a lot of people, but there's some acting. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you have to act a little bit, but if you act and it's not authentic, then your troops see that.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And there's that, and there's also, and this is what I was wondering was happening with Jalen Hurts. If the ballers on the team look at the quarterback and start thinking, he's not like us, he's not really on that level, that can be a problem. And I was wondering if that was happening to Hurts this year in Philadelphia.
No.
But I'll say this about Hurts versus Allen and Herbert, for example, and especially putting Herbert aside for a second, Josh Allen, because he's the anointed one. He's the one who's supposed to be Patrick Mahomes in Mahomes' absence. He was the one that it felt like a lot of people were rooting for overtaking Mahomes, right? But here we are in a game last night where actually Hurts wasn't even good in the second half. The Eagles' offense wasn't good in the second half. But Jalen Hurts, a guy who has been in 2 Super Bowls, and you could argue was the best player in each Super Bowl.
There's no argument.
When he won and he lost.
And that's not Mr. Bias.
And is a Super Bowl MVP.
Yes.
A guy who game manages until it matters most and then makes the play, was able on a bad day to beat Josh Allen's team, to lead his team past Josh Allen's team. And it makes me wonder, the Eagles have sort of been written off this year, but I have not. I like them and the Rams the most in the NFC. The Bills, like I'm starting to wonder about the Bills. I'm starting to wonder.
Here's the thing. Like Josh Allen said, he could have made a better throw. I'm not writing Josh Allen off. As far as the Eagles go, and Jalen, there's something about having an ugly win.
Yeah, they've had a lot this year, actually.
That's fine.
Yep.
That's fine. Because here's the thing. If you ask anybody that has won a championship, especially the focal point, and I want to make sure I say something, as long as the foundation is authentic and there's acting within, you have to have that meter.
Yeah.
Right? From a leadership perspective.
The core is real.
Yeah.
And then within that, sometimes you have to play a certain role.
Yeah, you have to.
But it's coming from a place of truth.
You can't go overboard with that. And you can see it like every time something happens, you have to pick your spots because then you would kind of get called out on it. But nevertheless, with Josh Allen, I would not be surprised if we're sitting here and the Bills are in the Super Bowl. Now, we did say on our first show, you asked me about the Chiefs, and then we talked about the Texans. I still believe that the Texans are the matchup problem for
everyone. Yeah, That's why I like them in the Super Bowl this year.
But especially for the Bills.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about what's on the line for Josh versus getting there. And I also say this.
Those dudes coming at you are a lot.
You're picking the Texans, right?
Yep, right now, yep.
Okay, so for every time the Texans win, we should come on this show and we have our cowboy hats on. Because I'm a Texans fan. I like the Texans. And I own a cowboy hat. And I also own Luke Casey cowboy boots.
I don't own
Do you want
either.
to get some? Let's get you some Luke Casey's. I'll wear my Luke
People
Casey's.
associate it with the Cowboys, I think.
No, they won't.
I don't want anyone to ever think I'm
Do you know how big the state of Texas is?
I know, but the Cowboys are the ones, like that's the brand.
It's his own country.
I know, it's still the Cowboys are the brand. If you
it's
come
not.
if you come on in the media
No, it's
with
not.
a hat and boots, people think Cowboys.
Okay. Where do you think the rodeo is bigger?
But I'm not saying the reality.
Well, what
I mean
are you
the
talking about?
perception.
People
the perception.
People wear I wore cowboy boots to the millennium in the year 2000. Are you crazy? Gator cowboy boots. Let's get you some Luke Casey's, Max.
All right, we'll talk about it.
Well, I'm wearing mine.
Let me consider. I don't want anyone to make a mistake and think I got some Cowboys thing.
You're saying that because this is the problem. You have to be able to separate church and state. You're saying that because you are a Giants
Correct.
fan. No one's going. It's not like you coming in here with a Dak Prescott jersey on.
Never that. Yeah.
Right. So you can. How about this? I'll call Mitchell and Ness.
Yeah.
We'll get you Luke Casey boots.
All right.
Cowboy hat. Lawrence Taylor Mitchell and Ness jersey.
That's confusing, but
yeah, I'm saying if you you're not gonna wear a Texans jersey.
No, hell no.
Right. So what I'm saying is, you're not to the Texans.
Okay, but I still got my LT jersey.
And you still got your LT.
All right, you're making some sense. You want to talk about our teams, by the way? Our football teams? Then
Not
we can
really.
talk some NBA.
I don't really care to talk about our football because
you
I'm
won.
torn.
You won a game. Both of our teams were in what should have been meaningless games. For them, they should have been meaningless games. But
there's never a meaningless game.
They both won. The Browns won and the Giants won.
It's only a meaningless game if you already made the playoffs, if you already have your seed position. Then it's a meaningless game.
Maybe, unless you want to
and still
keep
in
guys
that,
in rhythm.
Yeah, still in that you're trying to find.
But my point is,
in it.
neither one are in the playoffs, and they both won games, and there was outrage. I think in both games. I think there's outrage in the Browns game. I think it win, and I think there's outrage in the Giants win. You want to start with your team? You want to start with the Browns?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I'll say this: anytime the Browns beat the Steelers, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Although I am a Mike Tomlin fan, it's my guy. But still, I'm a Browns fan first. But I also want to have a worse record because
draft position.
Yes, draft
It's
position.
not like the NBA
important.
where you might have the worst record and not get the number one pick. The worse your record in the NFL, the better your pick's
draft
going to be.
position is important. The other thing is, if I could have had it my way, no, you know what? I wanted Miles to break the record, obviously.
He talked about that after the game.
Yeah. But You know what? No, forget that. I'm taking the win. Anytime the Browns get a win over the Steelers, I'm taking that.
Shador gets a win over Aaron Rodgers, but I got to say something about that. We get to the Myles Garrett thing in a second. That was an outrageous non-call at the end of the game. Aaron Rodgers.
It was.
Aaron Rodgers throws. Well, that should have been DPI. Obviously, defensive pass. It's pass interference. If you tackle a guy, your back is to the quarterback, and you tackle a receiver before the ball gets them. That's pass interference.
Max, refs miss calls in every game.
But Rich, here's the difference.
Now that we get a win over the Steelers, you want to talk about it's a pass interference?
Here's the difference. So many, I'm sure people come up to you, so many fans, the perception is that the league fixes things so they get certain things they want.
Oh, my God.
It is hard. Like, let's just look at the outcome of what happened. In plain sight of the whole world, a defensive back tackles a receiver with his back to the quarterback on 4th down. It is highly likely, if that's called correctly, the Steelers win that game. Highly likely. That's in front of, and what is the result? Ultimately, the result is that the NFL gets the Steelers and the Ravens Week 18, last game of the season, to decide the division.
Well, that's great. That is fantastic. But two things can be true.
How do you miss that call?
That was not a pass interference, number one. And it's great to have the matchup. By the way,
You're saying it was a pass. You're saying it's not a pass interference?
Knowing my guy, Mike Tomlin, this is how he wants it. Let's see. And by the way, don't blame pass interference. If you want to blame somebody, if you really want to blame somebody, they was missing a very big piece on their offense.
No question. Not having Metcalf there, they won't have him next week either because of the 2-game suspension.
That sucks.
Is probably the difference in that game. And by the way, when you bring up, like Tomlin, the fact that he never has a losing record, when you talk about like the Eagles win ugly, the Eagles have impressed me with how they've figured out how to win games when they haven't looked good. Tomlin does the exact same thing. The difference this year, if they beat the Ravens, is he actually has, yes, he's old as the hills, Aaron Rodgers, but Tomlin has a quarterback this time. He usually doesn't.
Yes.
So if you give Mike Tomlin a quarterback and you put them in the playoffs, you cannot count them out.
No, because one, they're going to be prepared.
Yep.
Two, Aaron Rodgers, as long as he doesn't have to move around too much, he can still deliver that football.
Yeah, he at this point in his career reminds me, if you took away the wheels, of Jalen Hurts in the sense that Rodgers is a very smart game manager now who 2 or 3 times a game is called upon to make an absolute, throw a dart, and he does.
There would be no Jalen Hurts disrespect here. Jalen Hurts is more than a game manager. I think that's disrespectful.
Well, I agree with that, actually. No, I agree.
Jalen Hurts is a premier NFL quarterback, and that's not Mr. Bias.
But he's not the kind of guy who in a regular season you're going to build your offense around to the point where he throws the ball a million times a game.
Who cares about style points?
I agree.
I'm from the old school. Win the football game, son.
We are on the same page, but you can't deny that perception is out there about Hurts.
Every coach I had, and I had some great ones.
Yeah.
I'm talking about legendary Muni League, which would be Pop Warner League coaches. Sylvester Summerall, I can hear him right now. Win the football game, son. Warren Franklin, win the football game,
This is what I'm saying to Josh Allen. Win the football games. Like, at a certain point, I'm with you on Hurts. I don't think it's like, for example, Josh Allen's now going to have to go on the road 4 times to win a Super Bowl. Okay?
Coach Fisher,
by the way,
win the football game.
Eli Manning went on the road twice, 4 games, and won 2 Super Bowls.
Coach Hightower. By the way, I had a defensive coach, Coach Hightower.
Yeah.
Win the football game, son. Win the football game. No one's talking about style points and just listen. Just win the football game. Get to the playoffs healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Sirianni wants to get to the playoffs. I can guarantee you, and I'm not in their locker room, get to the playoffs healthy.
Right.
They got the same team from last year.
Yeah, they could easily wind up in the Super Bowl.
For the Steelers, as good as Aaron is, you can't be missing a guy like DK Metcalf. You need your weapons.
And MVS wasn't good last night.
I'm not the type of guy to be like, just keep pouring it. DK's an adult. He's a grown man.
Yeah.
He knows what he did.
Yeah.
Let's move on. But
they might not make the playoffs.
If they don't make the playoffs, he has to own up to that. But if they do make the playoffs, then you show up.
When a receiver, because receivers had the reputation of being divas and all this stuff,
and
shoots themselves in the foot.
But here's what I'm saying.
Rich, it happened with Plexico Burress. He literally shot himself in the foot and missed the end of the season, and the Giants couldn't defend their title, right? Like, but it's metaphorically.
Listen.
DK Metcalf just shot himself in the foot.
But here's the thing.
Let's be honest.
But if the NFL, like you're proclaiming, wanted to have things set up, then he wouldn't have been suspended for 2 games.
Right. I'm not okay. You're right. You can.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying the NFL does. I'm saying the perception of many fans, is that where they can, they look to have things a certain way. And Rich, all I'm saying is it is hard to argue with a fan who says that in the case of that missed pass interference call.
Listen, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And the NFL's lucky in this case. They're lucky.
Oof, man, that's a bad one. It's a bad one.
It's AFC.
What do you think about what Myles Garrett said after the game? They were more concerned about stopping him from getting the sack record than winning the game.
Look, I wouldn't doubt that was on the whiteboard. Do not let him break.
But it seems to me, Rich, that if you want to win the game, that's a pretty good goal to have. If I'm playing Cleveland with an ancient quarterback, my top priority to beat Cleveland is don't let Myles Garrett get to Aaron Rodgers.
Well, there's also even more to that. A Browns player breaking the NFL record against the Steelers. There's a lot to that. But yeah, they go hand in hand, but I don't think Myles was incorrect with what he said.
Now I want to move on to my Giants. Okay, can we move on to my Giants?
Sure.
They lost the toilet bowl against the Raiders. And it was so predictable that they would do this because the Raiders are clearly tanking, and the Giants with Mara never tank. It's against, and I understand where he's coming from with that culture of trying at least to win. But Rich, this was ridiculous of the Giants to win this game. This is the second time in 2 years, consecutive years, that the Giants win the second to last game of the season to put themselves out of the number 1 overall draft pick. As I said, this is not the NBA where there's a lottery. You got the worst record, you pick first. The Giants could trade, because they have a quarterback, in Jackson Dart, could trade out of the number 1 pick, get all this draft capital. They have a running back who's going to come back who's excellent. They have a great wideout who's going to come back who's excellent. Their offensive line is much better. They have a left tackle. They have a ton of defensive guys. They need some help in the secondary. They need help here and there. They could get it all. Instead, they will not have the number 1 overall pick because they won this Week 17 game just like they just did. And now I'm hearing that they're not sold on Jackson Dart. That it's possible they could draft a quarterback. If you wanted to draft a quarterback, take the number 1 overall pick. What? So anyway, the reason that I'm bringing all this up, Rich, is as a New York sports fan, and it's not just a New York sports fan. I don't root for the Jets. I don't root for the Mets. You know, I'm a Yankees, Giants, and growing up, I was a Knicks fan. As a New York sports fan, I look at
that's an embarrassment of riches.
Another embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, because you have 6 teams to choose from.
That's right. But I go for the heritage
Unlike
team.
me.
Yeah. All your teams are the heritage team in Cleveland. In New York, you have the heritage team, and then a lot of times the clown franchise. And I like the heritage team. Usually it's Yankees heritage, Mets clowns.
I understand
Giants
that,
heritage, although they've been clowns recently. Jets clowns.
What do you mean the Mets?
The Jets are a clown franchise. The Mets are a serious threat now.
I'm not getting into this. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I like Mara. I think Mara has his heart in the right place and the best interests of the Giants at heart. But Rich, he has to recuse himself from football operations. He has to take a step back. Ever since he really began running the team, they have been, except for what he inherited, where they were still good for a minute, but when his decisions affected the team from then on, they've been a laughingstock, arguably the worst team in football, and it doesn't end. And now they're keeping the GM. Bad idea. He's made bad decisions. You're going to keep him to make more bad decisions. They win a Week 17 game, 2 years. They win Week 17 games that ruin their draft position. They will get less draft capital to go forward. They're not sure that they want their quarterback to be the quarterback of the future. I like him. Let's keep him. They got rid of their other quarterback, Daniel Jones. He did very well as soon as he left the team. It's time for Mara to look at the one constant. Again, I'm not anti-Mara. I think he loves the Giants and wants to do the right thing. If he does, he has to step back. It's been a disaster. It's been a disaster.
But let me ask you a question, because I think you're being too hard on Mara and the Giants. When you are drafting, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Jackson Dart, he looked phenomenal this year. He looked good. He looked pretty good. He looked like someone you can build on.
Times, yeah.
Right. But if I have the opportunity to get another look, right, at a quarterback, because there is a couple good quarterbacks in this year's draft, you cannot say to a 53-man roster, hey, guys, we're going to go in here and we're going to half-ass play football.
No.
That's the quickest way for someone to get injured.
Yep. No, you don't
right?
half-ass it, but you play certain players. You rest other players.
No,
you,
but that's...
you work on certain things.
But here's the thing. You can't have it both ways.
I like it both ways. Why not?
Yeah. Well, wait a minute.
I would like to have my cake and eat it too. Why can't I have it? Just buy another cake.
Max.
Yeah.
You have to watch what you say on this show because we have people watching the show, and this is not our show. Our show is a different show.
Yeah.
But there's just some things that you can't get around. Okay, I'll leave it there. Listen, let me keep going. Because we don't have a flag. We need a whistle. We need something on our show that's for us.
Yeah.
I don't want to take
if it was
Joe and Jada's flag.
You throw a flag on that one.
I would have threw every flag I have.
I get it.
But here's what I'm saying.
Shaq would be laughing at that one. I understand.
Shaq would have been laughing.
I understand what that means.
Cam and Mace, they would have stopped the whole show.
That was bad.
Right. But here's what I'll say.
But I pivoted to I want my cake and eat it too.
Just stop, Max.
No, that's okay. You can still want my cake and eat
that's
it.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me do this.
The other thing was maybe, you might hear about. You could hear about that one. Yeah.
Okay, I will hear about it. But nevertheless, it don't matter. We rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
What I would say is, I think you're being too harsh on the Giants because as you're going into trying to figure it out going forward, you got neighbors.
Yep.
Like you said. You have some pretty good pieces on the defensive
Got a running
end.
back for sure.
You have a running back. There is some good quarterbacks in this draft. You have here's the thing. You still, what they probably end up, 4, 3, 4, 5?
Maybe, let's see what happens in the last week of the season.
But you still have the ability. Sometimes
we gave up so much draft capital, Rich. If you trade out of the number 1 pick and you got a quarterback, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, people like who's 6 foot whatever and the 6 and has an arm and all that stuff, and he wins wherever he goes. Quarterback needy teams will give you just to come down a couple slots, to come down to the slot where you're likely to pick now, you would get another first-round pick out of that.
No, listen, you're not wrong about that. But there's also something to be said. Hey, man, sometimes having a number 1 pick is not the easiest thing because you have to get that right.
You got to trade out of that pick if you're the Giants. Jackson Dart is your guy. Trade out of the pick. You got a lot of holes to fill.
Yes, you trade out of the pick to where?
You probably get an extra first-round pick if you go down to, depending on who's there, between 4 and 6. You might have a top 5 pick and still have another first-rounder.
Let me ask you this question. Who do you want the Giants to take? What do you think you need?
I think you need help in the secondary. I mean, the Giants need a lot of help. They have good offensive pieces, and they have good defensive pieces up front, but they still need a lot of help. They could use help on the line. They could use help in the secondary, and they could have gotten everything they needed.
I just think it's harder in football. I understand what you're saying. You're not wrong.
But more than that, Rich,
I just think it's harder in football.
It's not just this isolated event. This is just like the latest thing. And I know I want my cake and eat it too. You want the kind of culture where you don't tank on purpose, and also I want the draft pick. I get all that.
But
He's been in charge now.
You know what you are?
What?
A fan.
Yes.
Fans are.
I'm a Giants fan. Irrational at times. Okay, but Rich, look at Mara's tenure on top of the organization. It has been an unmitigated disaster. And I understand why he would want the position he's in, because he loves football. He clearly knows a lot about it. He has passion for the team. He wants them to do it the right way. He comes from a great football family. That's why I like Mara. But the ultimate thing he can do now, as a Giants fan himself, is to realize he has I think you have the Midas touch. I think just about everything you touch winds up very successful. I think there are people like that. You could just look at your life.
Thank you.
There are some people who are mush. It's the opposite of the Midas touch.
Oh.
And Mara has the anti-Midas in terms of the Giants.
I'm not putting that on Mara.
It's been awful, but he's the only constant this whole time. He is the constant.
So are you like saying, because on Bronx Tale,
yeah, the mush,
when Eddie Mush,
yeah,
and they had the horse race,
get him out of there,
and he's like, he bet the horse.
Everyone rips up their tickets.
Just rip up your tickets, and Colangelo is like, wait, just like, and he's coming down the steps. He's like, come on,
it ain't gonna happen, dude.
He just ripped. He's like,
yes,
forget about it.
He is.
I'm not putting that on any one person,
but he's the only. You at a certain point, you got to look and say, this is the guy there making the decisions. They cycle through GMs. He doesn't get it right. They cycle through coaches. He doesn't get it right. They ruin their draft position because of his edict that you can't ever try to get a better draft pick.
45 minutes of the show on your Giants.
Fine.
Who do you want them to take?
It depends who's available.
That's not what I asked you. Who do you want them to take?
Is there a certain linebacker from
There's several.
Ohio State that you'd like to talk about?
First of all, you want to get into my Buckeyes? But here's the thing.
Never hurts when you take a Buckeye, for sure. When your team drafts, there's certain programs in certain eras.
Miami? But here's the thing.
Yeah. When your team drafts, you're like, all right.
If you want, depending on what you need, that's why I keep on asking you. Do you want another receiver? If you got Carnell Tate,
I would love
Tate Neighbors.
For the Giants, ideally, would pick up. They need more than this in the receiving core. They don't have any receivers. It would ideally pick up.
What you mean don't have any receivers? They have Malik Neighbors.
They have one.
Okay. So
I'm saying, but he's hurt at the moment.
Well, he's coming back.
If you got another like A-level receiver,
Carnell Tate,
and a tight end, and you need a corner or two, and a safety wouldn't hurt. Like they and a linebacker. The Giants need a lot of stuff. That's why they need the capital. Yeah,
if you get,
I'm with it.
You could get. If you have Tate, if you have Arvell Reese, who is, they don't even have a position for him. You can't even say what his position is. You could take a Bain, on the other edge.
But now we can take fewer of those guys.
But then you have an embarrassment of riches because you
I would
just
like an embarrassment of riches.
You still have Thibodeau.
By the way, it's Joe. But and Kayvon's been what he's been.
Kayvon's rock solid.
He was supposed to be better than this by now, Rich. I agree. He's not bad.
But
he's a good player. But he was supposed to be better than this.
But here's what I'm going to say. It's just like this. Do you remember?
And he turned out better than Evan Neal, but you know.
Do you remember when they had, when Ohio State had Bosa and Young on the edges?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember the cornerbacks?
I don't. You have to remind me of the year.
Okay, they looked phenomenal.
Yeah, because when that quarterback has no time, phenomenal. Boy, corners look pretty good. And vice versa.
Yeah, but when you talk about other, like, you're sitting here talking about a team, you still have to let these guys develop. This is what I'm saying. The Giants have the ability to look at the board holistically, and they can say they're the only ones that know the inside.
Less now than they could have had they lost yesterday. Less now. Okay. And by the way, they've had so much draft capital. And
Let's move on
I
from
can't
the
take it anymore.
Listen, if they take some Ohio State guys, great. If they take some other guys, great. I think they have a good foundation.
Okay. I want to ask you about Giannis. Can we talk about NBA a little bit?
Love Giannis.
He was quoted as saying something because they got mad because in a win, he does the windmill dunk. And he was saying something about, this made the rounds on social media. Hey, it's not like we're a championship team. I think I understand what he means. Do you understand what Giannis is talking about? I want to make sure I didn't miss something because it wasn't 100% clear why not being a championship team justifies playing in a way that you don't usually see championship teams playing.
Okay, so there's an etiquette
Yeah.
in every NBA game. Or there should be.
Sure.
Of late, it's kind of been a little sporadic.
Mm-hmm.
In Giannis's case, he's caught between the rock and the hard place.
Okay.
Because, one, I think he tries to do things the right way in most times, which showed in the locker room when they talked about him possibly being traded, this and that. He said, listen, you guys are being disrespectful. I'm here, I'm in my uniform every day. I think it's disrespectful to the fans, to my teammates, and to the coaching staff, and to the front office. That's on the, okay, well,
That's some really political
call it whatever you want. It's the right thing to do in that moment.
Right, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when he does the windmill dunk, he's basically like, I don't care what you think or the Bulls think, and I don't care. This is me trying to. We don't have the equity right now to do anything as if we are a championship team, or if we won a championship last year, and it could be a little confusing.
That's a little reversed, though, isn't it, Rich?
Listen, here's some. One is in play.
Yep.
One is at the podium.
Okay.
There's also this. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt, I believe, because he didn't grow up in the American culture, right? And so you can look at it from that perspective. It just like all these things depend on what lens you're looking out of them. Now, I will say this. I don't know. I haven't watched any of the programs. I don't know how much time people are going to spend on that. But the goalposts is moved for different players. Different players haven't, they're evaluated differently. And in Giannis's case, I don't think he's going to get much grief about it. I think the Bulls did the right thing, and they had the little scuffle or whatnot. But, I love
Giannis. Everyone loves Giannis.
I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
He had a Disney movie, like the whole thing. Like everyone loves Giannis. And by the way, it was a little tearjerker, right? I watched it with my daughters. Everyone, we had a good time. Yeah, it was a nice little movie. Everyone loves Giannis. But when he says we're not a championship team, therefore I'm doing something that champions don't do, that's reversing what most people think of as cause and effect. Or maybe it's just correlation. But hey, the point is to develop habits that championship teams have.
Yes.
And when you do something that's like a little petty at the end of a game, that's not how you build the culture to that. That's so. Yes, and he kind of reversed that.
Yeah, he's talking about attitude in this case, though. I think that's what he's. I don't know. I haven't.
Meaning attitude,
I
just don't care about what you think, or.
I think from what I got from his quote, is that he's trying to give off this attitude to spark his teammates, not so much as anybody else. I think he was making it about his team.
Is he going to get moved, do you think?
Here's the thing about trades like that. There's a lot of fantasy basketball players out there, and it's good to play fantasy basketball sometimes.
And you don't mean fantasy basketball with the numbers. You mean just hot stove,
ideas,
hot
takes, hot this, hot that. If you're in the Milwaukee Bucks position, right? One, you have a guy like Giannis. You drafted him. You developed him. He won there. Ownership has changed, at least half of it.
There's great stories about fans giving him a ride when he's a rookie to the arena.
No,
and
all of that. I mean, all of that. I remember when he first came in the league. All of that, right? Yeah. And you talk about drafts.
He's a champion.
The guy was the 15th pick in the draft.
Yep.
Okay?
By the way, he has an infectious personality. He's usually, when he talks,
doesn't take himself too serious.
You usually feel like he's in the right when he talks about stuff.
Also, he can get away with that too because he didn't grow up here. So it's kind of looked at a little bit different. But with that being said, he's earned everything he's gotten in this league. And when you have a guy like that and you're the Milwaukee Bucks, and if I know the Milwaukee Bucks like I think I know them, and I know them very well from ownership down, it's just tough to do. Now, there is going to come a time, again, it's all about communication. You sit with a guy like Giannis, and you say to Giannis, hey, what do you actually want to do? Most players don't ever want the onus to be on them. Very few guys want that. I don't care what position they're in. I don't care how high on the totem pole they are. No player wants to have the blame.
Right.
That's
Take
just
the
not,
responsibility
just not,
of making moves.
They could be the biggest warrior.
LeBron
within.
is accused of this more than anyone.
They just don't want that, right? And LeBron has always played his contracts out. And LeBron was criticized for making a decision that he was allowed to do. I'm a free agent. I can go wherever I want
Who in
to
their right
go.
mind would have stayed where he was based on the teams they were putting around
Whatever.
him?
But let's move on from that. So in this case, the way I see it is, no, the Bucks do not want to trade Giannis.
Do you think they will?
They would much rather keep rebuilding.
If
to keep
you were
people
Giannis's
there,
representative,
which I'm not,
would you want him out of there? Because if I was his rep, I would at this point.
but see, you say that, but here's what you have to look at. Okay, I was drafted here. I got my ownership group, the Haslams and Wes Edens, pretty deep pockets. They've been willing to pay the tax. We have a new facility. We have a new arena. We have a great fan base that was built, right? You have to put that on the board. And on top of that, and I do disagree with this. I think in the NBA, players are given things in terms of autonomy and some say before they ever earned it. There's very few guys in this league that has earned that.
He's a champion.
And if you haven't won a championship, you don't get to decide
He's a champion.
anything.
He's already done it.
Right. But he's actually one that's a champion. So am I coming to him, which I'm asking him for his say? No. Am I coming to him saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this. I'm just making you aware of this. And you can give some input or insight if you actually know it, but I have to make my own decision. If I'm in that position, I'm making my own decision. And I know a lot of times people thought like, oh, I see people say, they don't run the Lakers. We never ran the Lakers. That was never a thing. By the way, if I ran the Lakers, I would have been a part of the deal and got some and got some of that moolah, right? So I think people just say things just to say it on most platforms.
No, I understand why people think that, Rich. I understand why, because if you were the Lakers at the time LeBron got there, it would make a lot of sense. I used to say this on TV. When the Lakers would push back, I used to say, guys, if I'm running, I say it on the radio in LA, if I'm running the Lakers and I think that Clutch can help bring LeBron here, give them what they want.
No, but see,
but it makes sense from a distance.
I understand what you're saying, but the reality of it is, people are more concerned about everything else than an actual partnership. And I have a great relationship, and we had and continue to have a great partnership with the Lakers, but it's not like what you would think.
Right, you're not calling the shots.
And by the way, I don't want that responsibility.
Sure.
Now, for someone in my position, I look at myself as a partner to all teams that I have. It's like playing Monopoly. You land on Boardwalk, you land on Park Place, you want to put a hotel on it, right? And so that, you look at it from that perspective. So if I'm in that position, and again, I do not represent Giannis, not looking for that, but you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it. I have to look at all those things. There's also a world where instead of moving right away, you also focus on trying to be a great partner. Now, when you are a great partner, I'm not coming to the team with just my players, and we have a lot of them. No, I'm coming and this is how you build that real, authentic relationship and rapport, right, that's unbiased. If I'm only coming to you with my players, now I'm making it about a transaction, and that's pretty selfish of me.
You're also not looking at it,
and you're not looking at it holistically
for your client, because your client's not going to be in a winning position.
That's not what that's about. You have to look at it differently, and if you know basketball, which Some do, some don't. Some look at highlights, some whatever the case may be. That's their prerogative. You got to look at it and say, how can I help my client and also help the organization? And if you actually have the capabilities of doing that, then yes, I've had conversations with players that I don't represent. I've had conversations with players, agents that I don't represent, and we've worked together.
Mm-hmm.
That's there.
What do you mean,
that.
like to help bring them to a certain team that your client's already playing for?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're saying
But
you
there's
don't know
only
that?
a few guys
you're saying
that
you
can
don't
do
know
that.
that you would want to move Giannis if you represented him.
No, I don't know if I because again, where are you going? See, people always
LA. Like if I'm the Lakers, I'm looking at the roster. I'm seeing Luka Doncic and nothing else. I think if you start a franchise with Luka, you're in very good shape. Now, how are you going to build around that?
Okay, Max.
LeBron's old. Austin Reeves is a little redundant.
Here's the thing, Max. You got me in trouble the last time with these type of conversations because I'm not going to ever get up here and tell a lie, right? I'm not going to do that.
Sure.
There will be times I just decide not to say anything.
It's safer.
This won't be one of those times, though.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Here comes a social media clip.
When you talk about the education of it all, and I'm going to be going to games long after my guy retires and you know.
Rich, what are you doing in the nosebleeds?
I won't be in the nosebleeds. I'll be where I normally am if I decide, or I might be there sometimes, but I might like to play I like to play the suite sometimes, especially at the football game.
Yeah, suite's nice.
I'd rather play the suite. At a basketball game, I prefer feet on wood.
Sure.
But nevertheless, when you talk about where you want to place somebody, and again, we're going into the fantasy basketball of it all, but I think for the viewers, you have to give them some insight.
Mm-hmm.
When you're building a team, right, the one thing you can't do is only focus on names. That's not good. And what I mean by that is, and I remember having this conversation with my guy, David Blitzer, who is part of the Blitzer Harris group. I mean, Harris Blitzer group that owned the Sixers. We was having a conversation. We were in Shanghai or Beijing somewhere years ago. And I was talking to Josh and David, and I was telling them, like, I don't like a big three. I just don't like it.
In this NBA, you might,
no NBA. I'm going to tell you why.
Time was pretty good.
Yeah, but I like a big two.
Yeah.
And depth.
Yeah.
Now.
That seems to be preferable.
Yes. But here's the other thing. Before you can even get into personnel, I think you have to focus on two things: culture and development. Because when you have culture and development, you're able to build consistency within the organization, right? Now, you have those things: culture, development, that brings forth consistency of habits, consistency of character, right? Now you start to really have this across the group. Now when you come to evaluating talent, you're evaluating talent from a totally different perspective. It's not just about the name on the back, right? So
it's how it all functions together, yeah.
Yes, and when you're trying to manage a salary cap, it's so important to draft not only well from a talent perspective, from a character and IQ perspective, right? I watch a lot of games. Simple stuff like this. If I give you the ball, if we're on a fast break and I give up the ball early, if you touch that ball and take a dribble, that defeats the purpose of me giving you the ball early.
Right.
I'm giving it to you early because the defensive guy has to react a certain way and you give it right back.
Got to move it, yeah.
You just, but when you watch these games, you see these things, it's like, oh, that's just like a, Coach Thornton saying, "I wishes we used to do this all the time." But this is the NBA. But still, all these players get this criticism, right? But nevertheless, going back to your point about where to go.
This leads to a JJ Redick conversation real quick.
But going to your point about where to go. I'm not looking at certain cities or anything like that. That's not what I'm looking at. And obviously, if you got those two guys, yes. But again, you're talking about playing fantasy basketball. And when people don't know the rules, people just think anything. People say, oh, well, if LeBron wasn't making $53 million, no, that's not true. That's far from true, number one. You probably could have been, get a, I don't know, mid-level, whatever the case may be. Because it's not like,
when you can grandfather in a contract, it's different than acquiring a guy.
Now, letting a contract expire and letting other contracts expire, and you have X amount of cap space, that's a timing thing.
Sure.
If you have to line it all the way up for that to happen, and then that player has to want to be there because their contract may be longer. So it's and then you can't give a necessary
Well, I mean,
you can't say what you want to do.
This started because the conversation started because you said, where would Giannis go? And the two biggest
you
markets,
said that.
the two biggest markets could both use him in New York and LA.
But that's again, you focus on big markets.
I'm not saying that's where Giannis should go. I'm just saying the fact of the matter is the two biggest markets.
Right. So here's what happens.
Could be title contenders
when you in big markets and you focus on names, that's the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the small markets. Look at OKC and look at San Antonio.
Sure.
They don't have that ability to rest on that. So what do? They build a culture and develop it.
Can we switch topics here for a second?
Sure.
Because you bring up, I want to hit two before we get out of here. OKC, San Antonio. OKC wins 1 million games. They're on pace to win it earlier this season, to win 1 million games again this year. Oh my God, who's going to stop them? Blah, 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 blah. They listen, best player on the other team got hurt in the deciding game last year. It was tied at halftime, right? Close game. And OKC goes on to win. Who says they necessarily even win last year without the injury? And then this year, they've run into the Spurs.
What injury was that?
To Halliburton.
Oh, I thought you were about Aaron Gordon.
No, Halliburton.
Yeah,
because by the way, and Aaron Gordon is really the piece on the Nuggets that went from here to here.
He was having an unbelievable.
He's had a great effect on that team. Great effect.
But go ahead.
So the Spurs beat him 3 times so far this season. We started early, we talked about. We were talking earlier today. I don't remember if it was during the show or not. Does that mean the Spurs have OKC's number? Or does that OKC is not so untouchable? Or does that not translate in the playoffs here?
No, I mean, listen, anytime you lose to a team 3 times in a row, and especially in that short span, yeah, there's something there. And I think Shea came out and said it. There's something there. And it's matchups. They just match up. San Antonio just matches up so well with OKC. And again,
they have multiple playmakers. You mentioned it. They have Wemby. Go ahead and answer that.
Yep. Yeah, they have Wemby. They have Fox, Vassell, Castle, Harper. But again, going to names, okay? We know who the big name guys are for both of those teams. That's not who's actually putting them over the top. When you ask a guy like Keldon Johnson in the beginning of the year to play a certain role, and he buys into that and decides that I'm going to play that role.
And that's based on culture and drafting high IQ players.
And developing
them.
And then when you have a guy like Harrison Barnes, right, who's a true professional.
Getting the right veteran mix in. Yep.
This is what I'm saying. So now most teams draft a guy, number 2, Dylan Harper, he has to start.
Yeah.
He's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. So culture, development. Same thing with OKC. They have an embarrassment of riches. They got more picks than anybody. Their first round guys a lot of them were coming off the bench, right? And so I think it's a matchup we would love to see in the playoffs, obviously. And yes, I think that's something that's building there. But do I think it automatically means that, they're just going to run through OKC? No, and I don't think San Antonio believes that. I don't get over panicked about the regular season because there's a lot that comes with it.
You've said it. The NBA is getting ready for the playoffs.
Last year, Indiana was not that great.
No.
Halliburton didn't even make the All-Star team.
Yeah, but they were they had an identity all year.
But
they were good.
No, in the beginning, it was a little struggle, and then they came on strong at the end and made it to the final.
We have 2 more shows this week.
Yeah.
Wednesday and Friday. And
by the way,
on Wednesday,
I'm going to be wearing, do you know this bear?
Of course.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, my daughter the bear sweater. She didn't want it. She thought it was too fancy.
The bear?
Yeah. You know, it's hundreds of dollars for a sweater. You know, she's in high school. She didn't want me to get it. It was a Hanukkah present like 2 years ago. Hardworking kid.
Oh.
I wanted to get it for her. She didn't want it. She's like very modest that way. And
my
so I
daughter's
bought
like
it to
that
surprise her, yeah.
In high school too.
Yeah.
Very much
good.
so. But no, we have 2 but
we have 2 more. So I want to ask you on Wednesday, since you just hit on the Hawks. There's going to be a Giannis sweepstakes if other teams are going to be interested in Giannis. Only he's either going to stay where he is or one team will wind up with him that's not Milwaukee. But that means other teams won't get him. And there's another player, and I'm a friend of the guy who represents this other player, Anthony Davis. And I was wondering about your opinion about what the Giannis stuff means for AD, but I guess we could talk about that on Wednesday, if you're good. It's called the tease. I'm going to have to ask you about AD. Are you prepared to?
Well, I love talking about AD. I'm prepared to talk about Anthony Davis, who it's clear any team that you put Anthony Davis on will be better.
Max Kellerman, Rich Paul, game over. Subscribe.
Please subscribe. You have to add the please. Just please subscribe. Why you can't just say please?
Must be 21 and over and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and over and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.